Hello, hello. I'm going to show you something today, which is perhaps a little unusual. I use Vegas Pro, the video editing software, to edit radio shows. Now that might seem a little strange because it's audio only, but Vegas initially was actually audio editing software. Seriously. And it's very good for rapidly assembling shows. Now, what I've got in front of me is a template. I often work with template files, and in this case, this is one specifically for one of the presenters on the community radio station that I help with, and I've just been recording his show with him, and now I need to edit and assemble it. In this template, it's 2 hours long. That's the marker there, precisely on the 2-hour mark. He always has this piece of music as an outro. And actually, there's something I do about this that a lot of people don't seem to know. Within Vegas, if you right-click on any clip on your timeline, there are a series of switches that you can apply to it. Most of them you don't tend to need. There's like mute a clip, I guess. Loop, that's on by default. Invert phase can actually be useful. And normalize, just to normalize the audio. But there's one that I've got here, lock. And with a clip locked, I cannot move it. No operation I do will move this clip, or delete it, or anything. Because this is going to be the last thing in the show, I have it locked in position so that I know where I'm working towards. Likewise, the show always begins with the same intro. So that is also there and locked in position. I got these two floating around because these are bookend jingles for when he does a recipe. Now, over here, beyond the 2-hour mark, I've got all the music from the show. There's, actually in this case, it's about 1 hour 52. This is not a speech-heavy show, it's very much a music show. And then there's the recording of the show itself. 2 bits because we forgot to do the out. And you might notice this is a video file with 2 audio tracks because I record it using NVIDIA's GeForce or Shadowplay, if you would like. I'm never quite sure if they renamed it. Anyway, whatever. I don't need the video track. Then that's Ron talking. And then this is me talking to him. U to unlink, ungroup, delete. U, ungroup, delete. So I'm just left with his voice. Now that's going to be the outro. So I might as well put that roughly in position. And then all of this is going to be cut and chopped because him doing his whole show. So start about here.
Well, here we are again, folks.
Here we are again, folks. So that's it. Just trim it to fit. That's going to come in here. Now, there's a couple of things I'm going to have to say here. Obviously, I've got a bunch of music here. And that music is, well, it's copyright. I'm going to try and not really play any of it. I don't really listen to the music when I'm doing the show. I'm doing the editing of the show because I already know about them. And yes, they have been downloaded because radio station has a license, which anything that we broadcast is covered by our license. So these tracks at the moment are actually unlicensed, but as soon as they go on to our system, then they are. Slightly weird distinction. I mostly use FLAC files. I use FLAC files wherever possible. Occasionally you get stuck with an MP3 file because I have to. But I prefer FLAC because Vegas has this strange tendency that sometimes when playing MP3 files, especially towards the end, you can see a waveform, but the audio will just cut out and you'll get silence. the odd remedy to that is to play it in Winamp. You know, if I've got a track that ends up going silent at the end, if I play the exact same file in here, even just for a second, stop it and go back here, working again. I don't know why that happens, but I do know how to fix it, and I do know how to avoid it in the first place. Use FLAC files. So I do. Now, I'm going to try and avoid putting any copyright music, or at least no more than a couple of seconds. This is the end of Ron's intro, and then it echoes a fair bit, so I'll actually cut him in a little bit early back there.
Well, here we are again.
So there we go. So I know he talks a fair bit at the start.
Art Radio.
And
Pan-galactically. Listen to these.
That's it. Now you might think, oh, the recording levels are a little bit low. Yeah, they are. Because he's talking into a laptop. A not a very good laptop, and not at all a good microphone. Why doesn't he have a good microphone? Because he doesn't have a good microphone. So, I've got a lot of track effects set up. Now, as you see, I tend to mark things: voice, beds, music, boost. Beds and jingles all go on this second track, voices on this top track, and I've actually got two separate templates for him depending on where he is recording the show. I've got noise print set up with fairly mild reduction, but some quite heavy EQing on it. And I don't use the normal track compressor, I use Wavehammer Surround with the setting for voice, because it boosts it quite nicely. So if I let this run on his voice, you'll see the compressor.
Here we are again, folks. It's
jumping up and down. These are settings that work well. And yes, with this quiet, not particularly good quality sound, it turns it into something relatively decent. But just turn off everything.
Well, here we are again, folks. It's your Saturday Southern Septuagenarian.
You hear it's a bit muddy, a bit muffled.
Here we are again, folks. It's your Saturday.
And a bit quiet. So, I've got track EQ, I've got my noise reduction, and I've got my compressor.
Well, here we are again, folks.
What a difference. Still not great, but not bad. Now, it's just a case of cutting things up. So...
Seems to be the...
what do you say?
Classic song from her. Who need people? Back to back. Listen to these.
That's the one. Now, something to watch out for here. Although by the waveform it seems to end about there, it's got a soft sibilant on the end of it. That's... and especially with the... minus of that there, split. S, split. Here we go. And he's actually playing 4 tracks back to back at the start. And it's these 4. Almost all tracks begin with a bit of silence. I tend to cut it back. I could just overlap it more, but I don't. Do with a slight fade in. There we go. If I'm going to run it into another track, we've got some, and it cuts out quite suddenly actually, so we'll run it into the next one. Fine, start. And just a small overlap. I find 5/100th of a second is fine. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just need to make sure it's not silent. 0.05 of an overlap. That'll do. Now the music tracks, they have a compressor on as well. I have that turned on because I don't use it. There's no EQ on them and there's no noise gate. I also have to bear in mind that when it goes out through the radio station, there is a compressor there as well. So I am aiming for an overall volume level to peak in. Oh, actually, where's my Alt-D? And there we are. My master and the preview. Not that I need the preview. Something that people don't use often enough. Layouts. View, window layouts. Default layout takes you back to wherever you are. Alt-D in my case. But you can also have your own ones. Very slightly different from the default. But ones for color correction, so on. It's well worth setting these up. There's my default. Because you might need to do things differently. Now, I should actually create a separate one for radio editing, which I have actually got in my other Vegas, with the preview gone. I might as well use that space. Now, looking at these tracks, we've got the first three playing into each other just fine, and then there's the last one. And you might notice by the look of the waveform, it looks a little quiet. Is the compressor going to bring that up loud enough? 4.2. I'm just looking for some of the loudest parts. So that's about -4. I'm generally got the music set at -2 to give it a little bit of headroom. -4 is 2 dB off. I'm not too fussed. That's why I've got this boost channel set at 4 dB up. So I can dump a track down there. That's peaking out, that's topping out. I'll just leave it there. It's not all songs are loud. So let's get the intro right on this. You sometimes find with some old recordings that they do tend to just plain be quiet. Right, okay, that's going to need a fade, and then we're just going to have to cut this in bang on. Oh, no. There we go. Then as that tails out, there's that finish. It fades out. So I'll run back in about here. That's really where he starts talking.
Now let's get on with some real singing. Again, naturally, very poignant words.
But and make sure it leads in just fine. That should be all right.
Words.
Fair enough. Where do we end? Well, it's not a fade out. It's just a track peters out.
Annie Lennox now.
Annie Lennox now.
Annie Lennox. Name of the track.
Oh.
Name of the track.
Background noise at the end there. Click. Cut it off.
Name of the track.
Just
Now
an
those.
echo. And in this comes Annie Lennox with Y.
Name of the track.
Fine. That's another one that just kind of peters out.
Now those of you who have followed my show over the years, and hear singing the Canadian Railroad Trilogy, all 7 minutes 5 seconds of it.
There we go. And it is indeed Gordon Lightfoot, Canadian Railroad Trilogy.
5 seconds of it. 5 seconds of it.
Fine. Now, on a speech-heavy show, this editing would be quite different now. Waveform, hold on.
Too silent.
Oh. Weird. Is that how that song ends? Fades out and has a little bit at the end. Interesting. It's very interesting when I don't know the music.
Barbara Streisand now comes up.
Okay. Now, I am particularly looking out for tracks that have got fade outs.
People are the luckiest people in the world. Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it's worth just listening in and pressing the S button on the keyboard.
The world. Oh, yeah.
Yep. There's numerous ways of doing things in Vegas, which is one of the reasons why I like it so much. And yeah, sometimes just when it's playing, I'll hit S. Sometimes I'll stop it at a certain point, press S.
Oh, yeah.
Fine. Yes, I'm looking for tracks that have a fade out. Not like that. Oh, here. Analog noise in the background. Old recording.
Now we have a track from...
Oops, he had a bit of an intake of breath there.
Now we have a track from Beatles, and it's Tell Me Why.
The reason that I am looking for tracks that fade out is because you might notice with the amount of music we have here, if I line it up, we're going to go over. Now, I particularly like it. Why did that track? That track number 10. Oh, I accidentally dragged over it. Yes. Because if a track's got a fade out on the end, it's a track that I can more easily cut. This track looks a little quiet. Oh, it's an old one. And a live one. A bit of sounds at the end. Well, no worries. Very short. Is that an actual link?
The Supremes now.
It is.
The Supremes now with The Happening. Oh yeah, this is a great one.
See with that.
Oh yeah, this is a great one.
That's the compressor doing a fair amount of work there to lift up what was clearly very quiet vocals to an appreciable range, even to the point where, yeah, you can barely see the waveform. Oh.
It's a great one.
Well, you don't edit too visually. Okay, Supremes, yeah, that in. And we're coming up for the 40-minute mark.
It's a great one.
Wait. Right, that's the song that fades. I may be grateful later. That's a short one, and I maybe want to have a look at that one. If it's peak values. But this here.
She's Out of My Life. Soft, slow and sentimental.
Siblings on the
Let's
S.
get the recipe in.
Yes, indeed. Let's get the recipe in. That's what this next bit is. A lot of talking. because there's a recipe in every show. That's why I got these jingles sitting around.
One more time quickly. So there you have it. Sugar.
But that's the recipe. So it gets an intro jingle and an outro jingle. Lap in nicely.
Sugar.
I hold down Control whilst clicking them and then press G to group them. Now they're joined together. So let's just move that aside. Have a look at this one. A bit quiet. Anyway. 9. Yeah, I think I'm going to dump this on my boost channel. Fine. That's why I have this channel set up, because sometimes it's a bit too much work for the compressor. So for quieter recordings like this one, I just drop it down onto another track. Okay, now I'm going to largely go through and do the rest of it like this, and I'll come back to you when we get to the next interesting part. Okay, we're back, and I've basically edited the whole show, but it's down to fitting in the last couple of tracks. Now, there was actually one bit of leeway earlier. One of the tracks on this playlist, 17, he forgot to mention. So I've got no intro to that, but I don't mind missing it out because it'll help me fit things in. Now, here's a little Vegas trick that's not at all obvious. File saved. And, yeah. How come when I zooming out to a 4.5 hour selection when my show's only 2 hours? That's because I earlier had clips lined out to there. So I've got it saved. I just close and reopen, and it's scaled it to 2 hours maximum time. Okay? Can't zoom out any further. By dragging things beyond that, you can make it bigger, but there we go. That's the length of my show. Now, how am I going to fit this last bit in? Because we overrun by approximately 1 minute 17. That's not bad. That's pretty close. So, this track fades out, whereas this track does not. It annoyingly fades in. Now, I'm going to shorten the fade in. By kind of doing it, overriding it a bit myself. Get that fade in. Yeah, about that. And I prefer if the difficult to flex. Oh, come on. Really? Oh, it's because it's yeah, it's fast trade from split. Oh no, it's not. No, it isn't. I'm having trouble selecting. There we go. Easier to do on the way out. I rarely do it on the way in. I prefer this rapid rise shape. Sounds a bit more natural. And the track just ends when it does. That's saved a little bit of time.
Well, there you have it.
Okay. I didn't line this up properly.
For now.
Draw for now. And why do I always say ta-ra at the end of my videos?
For now.
don't know, but it's no coincidence that Ron does it. So, okay. Okay, that's fine. But I've got an overlap of 1 minute, 2 seconds, and I've got some speech to fit in. So, because this is a song that fades out, I'm going to work on it a little. I'm going to cheat and fade it earlier. Fast fade. It's a lot easier to select when you're going out. Now that's not enough to fix this. Oh, blast, I lost my intro. I'll fade in. There we go. Right. Nice. Now, obviously, when you're in the studio doing a show, it's a lot easier because you know you're operating in real time. And, you know.
Now go. Now.
So you know how much time there's left to fill, and you can cut things at any point or pick things that are appropriate in size. You've still got 40 seconds to find. The song that fades out as well. Andy, trim a bit off there. These two songs run into each other. Did I write on this one?
Now I guarantee.
About right. Ching. Okay. At 9 seconds. Well, tell you something that I kind of need to do. Jingles. Hate jingles.
You've got to be listening to Lionheart Radio.
I shall cheat and that at the end. Fine. And then that allows me to extend that a little bit. And suddenly we've reached 2 hours. Now I keep track as I go along. I knew that song 10 had a fade out, song 16 had a fade out. I could have faded various songs at various times. It's fine if you have too many songs. I was a little bit worried when this one didn't get played. Because I thought, oh heck. Delete. Does that mean we're going to be short? Because if you're short, that's very hard to pad out. Suddenly, I'm not quite so tight on the entrances and exits to songs. Maybe I let them fade to absolute silence before I cut in the presenter again. Maybe I pepper a few more jingles through the track, through the show, sorry. Because you are required to actually play jingles from time to time. I can't stand them myself. I absolutely loathe jingles. But it's part of your station identification. I do actually have my own jingles for my show. Where am I? My jingles are a little bit different. What was the one we just played there?
You've got to be listening to Lionheart Radio.
Now,
I find it just execrable. But you've got to be listening to Lionheart Radio. Well,
あなたはライオンハートラジオを聞かなければなりません。
there we go. I do have it in English too.
You've got to be listening to the Lionheart Radio.
It amuses me. My show is mostly about Asian culture, so it makes sense to have them in Japanese. Why not? So I hired a very nice lady to record them for me. And I got her to do them in English as well, just for fun. So there we go. We've got some jingles, we've got a recipe, we've got a bunch of songs, and we are done. Because I got a marker there, double click. There we go. There's 2 are selected. Save and render as. Now I'm actually going to render it as an MP3. 192. Yes. Why do I render it as an MP3? Why don't I do it as a WAV? Because this is going out on FM. And the quality of FM isn't high enough to distinguish between a 192 kbps MP3 and a WAV file. Seriously. And although the station does stream over the internet, the stream on the internet is actually 64 kbps. So, and it's an MP3. So, this is better quality than you will get listening to the radio or anything. It's just what we do. Yeah, ideally save everything as lossless, but we also have to keep recordings of shows for quite a long period of time in case there are any complaints. That has happened. Yeah, there's some fun to be had because there was one time, it was my fault. I messed up when recording someone's show. I didn't listen to all the links and speech before I put out the show, and I accidentally left in a bit where the guy said, "Oh no, I effed that up," except he didn't say effed. So yeah, we had to make sure that we had full recordings of that and a diary of when it had gone out, in case anyone complained. Nobody did, thankfully, but people have complained about things before, and it's very nice to be able to go back and say, well, here's the recording. You say that this happened, this did not happen, or you're absolutely right, this did happen. Generally, if you're in the studio and you accidentally swear, or you accidentally play a track that has swearing in it, oh, there we go, you cut it immediately and apologise. Now, one thing I do here, there's the 3 of it, in we go. I'm just going to let that find the peaks and have a look at it. This is a very useful step, actually, because sometimes you can screw things up or something goes wrong during the editing. That said, sometimes MP3s don't quite play right in Vegas. You get a bit of silence at the end. So there we go, there's the whole show. And I can have a quick visual inspection. There are no chunks of silence in it, nothing missing. It's in full stereo. Let's see the differences. And it's quite a nicely filled out waveform. Now you might wonder why I leave a little bit of headroom and I don't record right up to the 0 dB limit. It's because I know the equipment that it's going through at the radio station. There is another compressor on the way out. There's another EQ on the way out. A few things. These are hardware units. And so I know what it sounds like going in and what it sounds like coming out. So I give it just that little bit of headroom because you don't want things clipping. If things end up clipping or getting over amplified, there's nothing I can do to pull that back. So there we go. That is how I do a radio show. Or at least that's how I do someone else's radio show. For my own, it's a little different because mine tends to be quite heavily speech-based. In fact, sometimes I don't play any music at all. And people do ask me about my radio show, and where can they listen to it, and things like that. I say, well, I don't tend to encourage that because it's a difficult show to listen to, and ordinarily, I'm making videos about computer games or keyboards or stuff like that. I don't have a channel that's focused on Asian and Oriental cultures, really. So, I mean, do you really want to hear a 2-hour program of me talking about the political history of North Korea? Yeah, okay, that one guy there does, but no one else does. I'm quite capricious. I do as I please on my show. There's one show I did about the Chinese expedition to Mount Everest in 1960. That was really good. I was really pleased with that one. But sometimes I just play like an overview of the year in J-pop. So we're starting to come to the end of 2021, so I will be taking a look at the Oricon Top 100 chart for the whole year and doing a rundown of that. That shows pretty much just music. But how do you fit 100 tracks into 2 hours? Yeah, that's tricky. Don't play every single one. Luckily, these days, the Japanese pop charts, especially the sort of across the whole year, there's an awful lot of AKB48 and their ilk. So you can only play 1 or 2 of them, and that cuts out, well, half the chart. So anyway, there we go. That is how I edit a radio show in Vegas. You wouldn't have thought of it as an audio editor, but it's actually pretty capable. We tell people at the station, and we train people at the station to use Audacity. Don't look too closely at my Windows setup. Different from yours. Start 10 that I'm using, so I don't have to use the horrible start menu. Yeah, we teach people to use Audacity. I don't like Audacity because I find it very clunky to use. So if I take a couple of tracks from Ron's show. Come on. Right, I've got these 2 tracks in. Copy this one. Can I just paste it on the end here? Yes, I can. Great. Close that one down. But, how do I move it now? Well, that's a pain. I've got to end up selecting things, and I can't just drag it to move it. It's going to be another cut. It's all that. Oops, and I managed to end up with a tail. So I'm not the biggest fan of Audacity, but we teach people how to use it at the radio station because it's genuinely free. It works on anything, be it Mac, Linux, Windows, whatever. There's a version of Audacity for just about anything. So yeah, that's what we tell people to use. Whereas I use Vegas. I'm not inclined to get people to spend 400 quid just like sharing clips more easily. Anyway, that's our video for today. A strange one. I hope you found this of interest. I'd be inclined to do a few more Vegas ones, maybe. We shall see. Until the next time. Ta-ra.